With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
Die Türkei braucht die EU nicht mehr und daran sind sie selbst schuld. Warum? Weil Ankara auf ihre moralischen Belehrungen verzichten kann. Denn wer Moral predigt, aber Doppelmoral lebt, verspielt jede Glaubwürdigkeit. Sie kritisieren Erdogans Umgang mit der Opposition. Nachvollziehbar. Aber warum sinnieren Sie dann über ein Verbot der AfD? Sie predigen Vielfalt und Toleranz, aber dann müssen Sie akzeptieren, dass die Türkei anders tickt. Nein zur Genderideologie, nein zur Pride, ja zu traditionellen Werten. Das ist das gute Recht der Türkei. Andere Länder, andere Sitten. Sie kritisieren den Ausstieg der Türkei aus der Istanbul-Konvention. Aber selbst 5 EU-Mitgliedstaaten haben diese bisher nicht ratifiziert. Sie werfen der Türkei ihren Umgang mit syrischen Migranten vor. Dabei macht Ankara genau das, was wir längst tun müssten. Syrer abschieben sofort. Ihre Doppelmoral kostet Glaubwürdigkeit. Fehlende Glaubwürdigkeit kostet Respekt. Und ohne Respekt kann man nichts einfordern. Statt moralischer Belehrungen braucht es endlich klare Kante. DITIB-Einfluss stoppen, Zypern-Konflikt lösen, Heranführungsgelder streichen, Beitrittsverhandlungen abbrechen. Stattdessen eine privilegierte Partnerschaft basierend auf gegenseitigem Respekt bei Energie, Sicherheit und Handel.
בצורה לא פחות טובה מאיתנו, האמת שהיא בצורה יותר טובה. והבעיה מספר אחד שלנו בעולם היא בקרב הדור הצעיר. יש פערים מאוד גדולים שאנחנו רואים אותם במחקר שאנחנו עושים בין הדור היותר מבוגר לבין הדור הצעיר, רואים את זה גם בארצות הברית של אמריקה, שקיימת ברוב התקשורת המערבית נגד מדינת ישראל, שמציירת את ישראל כסוג של פרויקט קולוניאלי, כאילו לא אנחנו העם הילידי בארץ הזאת, שהיה פה לפני 3,000 שנה ויותר מ3,000 שנה, 4,000 שנה, ושמר פה כל השנים גם כשהיה בגלות על נוכחות קבועה, בוודאי בארבע ערים קדושות וגם מקומות אחרים. התעמולה של הצד השני, שהיא מהודהדת על ידי הרבה מאוד גורמים בעולם, היא מציירת אותנו כסוג של קולוניאליזם חדש.
האם בתקיפה נהרגו ישראלים? האם היה נזק גדול לרכוש? תשובה הייתה לא, אבל אמרנו זה לא קשור. עצם הניסיון לפגוע, הם ישלמו...
מי אמר את זה, האמריקאים?
אתה מבין ש...
ש48 שעות אחר כך נפל להם מטוס, לא נהרג אף אחד והם יצאו לתקיפה?
אז הנה אנחנו, לא ארצות הברית, ארצות הברית היא המעצמה החזקה ביותר בעולם, אבל אנחנו המעצמה החזקה ביותר במזרח התיכון, וזאת המדיניות שלנו.
לא היה דבר כזה מעולם. נכון, עוד לא. השמדנו את חמאס עד הקצה, אנחנו שולטים בין 60 וכבר מתקרבים ל-70% ברצועת עזה, ומשמידים את כל תשתיות הטרור שם, וכולם מבינים מה המשמעות של הדבר הזה, ויש לנו לגיטימציה בינלאומית לזה שאין שיקום בלי פירוז, עזה תישאר איי חורבות, בסוף תהיה משם הגירה, כי אין מה לחפש שם בעשורים הקרובים, והביטחון של תושבי הדרום פי 1000 יותר טוב מה שהיה, ואותו דבר בצפון, לא היה טיפול שורש יסודי כזה בדרום לבנון שאנחנו עושים עכשיו, מעולם. ואם התוצאה תהיה שחיזבאללה מעבר לליטני, אגב, מוכה, חבול...
בעיקר אגב, אוחזים בשטח, משמידים את האיומים. ובלבנון עשינו, קודם כל 200,000 תושבים, שגרו ברצועת הביטחון, לא חוזרים, אחד מהם לא חוזר, צה"ל נמצא שם, הורס את התשתיות, הורס את הכפרים, ולכן מגן גם על היישובים שלנו, בצורה שונה לחלוטין ממה שהיה. אתה יודע למה זה לא כמו רצועת הביטחון שהייתה? כי כשהייתה אוכלוסייה היו מטענים. היה טרור לחיילים. אין אוכלוסייה היום. זה רק חיילים שמטפלים בטח. עכשיו לא רק שהוא מטפל במחבלים, כל קו הבתים הראשון, אני אומר את זה, ועוד יוודאו התמונות בהמשך, ואנשים יבינו. כל קו הכפרים הראשון הלבנוני נהרס, כל בית. נהרס על ידי כלים וחומרי נפץ. אתה יודע למה? כי הם היו מוצבי חיזבאללה, שימשו שוב ושוב מוצבי חיזבאללה, והחלטנו לחסל את הדבר הזה. אנחנו הורסים. זה נקרא חגורת הכסף, מחרשת הכסף. אנחנו הורסים את כל הבתים. כל התושבים לא יראו אותם מול עיניהם יותר.
אז אני חייב להגיד לך שבסקר אני עושה ספוילר קטן.
If it weren't for Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu worked well with me, but he will tell you, we're the ones with the guns, we're the ones with the whole deal, we're the ones with the B-2 bombers, etc. If it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated.
Your relationship with, are you going to be able to control Israel from attacking Lebanon?
Yeah, I will be. I mean, how? I wonder. They have a lot of respect for me, and they do as I say.
Relationship with Netanyahu's,
it's good, but we have to keep him a little bit sane.
Whoa, Nelly, make it make sense. Welcome to the SCIF. It's happening. A lot going on. We want to make sure you're the smartest in the room and to help you make it make sense. Welcome back to the SCIF. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Thank you for being here already, rocking and rolling. And I want to say, please check out whatfinger.com. Great aggregator site that posts a lot of our content. We're going to bring you the best analysis we can because there's so much going on. We're going to cut through all the noise and get you exactly what you need to hear. We've got a great lineup today. It's going to be a full show. Tom Teague is going to tell us what's going on geopolitically and financially. I got Thierry Laurent from France, and then Pete Blaber, former Delta Force commander. We're going to talk about Ukraine and what's going on in that war because we're focusing on that war and the Europeans don't like it. So hold on. We got a lot to go through. Let's do the mission brief real quick. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Today is June 19th. Here's your mission brief. Israel bombs Lebanon. Hezbollah kills IDF soldiers. Back and forth violence. Supposedly, just as we started the show, there's a new ceasefire. We'll see how long that holds. Iran-Switzerland negotiations called off because Iranians say, look, Lebanon's part of this. It's in the agreement, and Israel's still active in Lebanon. CBDC banned till 2030. Central bank digital currency. Why not forever? Why only a few years? Why is that? Kushner's Albanian deal generates rage in Tirana. We've got a great article from one of our writers in Montenegro on that situation. And mRNA flu vaccine gets the go-ahead, no matter that it's completely not proven to be safe or effective. All right, let's bring in Mr. Teague and let's get rolling on what's going on. Hold on one second. Tom, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So here's my deal. I think this Iran deal is the best way forward. I think it gives the world an opportunity to move forward, but a lot of people don't want this to happen. What do you think is going
on? Well, I agree with you. I think, it's never an easy situation, and through all this stuff, there's going to be people who are unhappy with the result either way. I think you have to look at the overall picture, what's good for the U.S., the U.S. economy, what's good for the region, and I think it's a decent balance of those things. I mean, people seem to forget that we destroyed their Navy, we destroyed their Air Force. They have no control over their own airspace now. They have no radar. That's how we were able to sneak out 100 million barrels of oil. So, I mean, I think that being left in the back, they wanted a negotiation, and I think we wanted to probably avoid having boots in the ground, and that because that would have been a morass like all the other wars. We'd have been stuck there for a long time and lost probably a lot of lives, and so that's it may not make people immediately happy that Iran's still functioning, but they're functioning in a much weaker, way. And when people compare this to the JCPOA thing, it's they've lost a lot. They've lost 50 leaders. I mean, that's like half their major leadership, and they were probably the guys that we wanted to root out because we had really good intelligence from Israel.
So people don't realize that the Strait of Hormuz, and we've talked about this before, but all the energy supplies, 20% of the world's energy, plus a lot of the fertilizer, the ability to create fertilizer comes out of that region.
Helium,
so you're talking famine in Africa primarily, maybe some food shortages in Europe. A lot of places we're going to have some serious problems if this didn't get resolved. And now all these pipelines are going across.
I think that's a really good outcome, is that that certainly as a choke point that has always been there since this regime has been in power. The Strait of Hormuz has always put a premium on oil because there's always a risk that Iran could do something crazy, and they have control of it. So this whole conflict has enabled the neighboring countries to build pipelines, to add to pipelines, and to use what they have and to circumvent the Straits of Hormuz. And I think that's great, because it definitely takes some of the risk out of the whole situation. And obviously, for us, we'll probably be over there in some, military capacity, just to make sure that those pipelines get protected and stay protected. And I think that's a positive of this as well, is we'll have, more influence in the region, and we'll be there to safeguard it in some capacity more than we are.
There's a narrative being created that the U.S. is being pushed out of the Middle East, that we've lost, that, I just find that absurd. And I wonder what the underlying agenda is to that whole narrative that's being created, because the Gulf states are still, very friendly to us. We're still going to maintain basing there, maybe not to the extent we had before, but also all the cost and exposure of, I don't know how many Air Force tankers are in Nevatim Air Base in Israel right now, like 80, 90. I mean, it's insane. I mean, they're sitting there within missile distance of Iran. So, and we've seen them destroyed on the tarmac. So I'm all for, I guess, shrinking our defense posture back to protecting the homeland in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think markets, if you look at how markets have behaved throughout this whole thing, they've obviously liked the news. I mean, obviously, there's more to this than just, the security of the region. It's we got to think about the U.S. economy, and getting oil prices down is very important to sort of containing inflation. And so I think the market, like that. Like the resolution to this. And I think there's still, and I've said this all along, a lot of these conflicts that we've been in, you've had these like massive sort of, working together, convincing the public, selling them on this stuff. We didn't have this. This was a unilateral decision, basically, or a bilateral between us and Israel to do this together. And so a lot of the world's been kept out and is in the dark about what's going on. So we don't really know how this thing's going to work out yet. And I think, but I do think having a resolution, like you said, you get the fertilizer back out, you stop a lot of the big problems that could have existed because of a sustained conflict.
I mean, you're making a lot of good points. What about the Fed? What do you see is happening there? You've been on this. You've been pretty.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Fed right now, I think what initially kind of spooked the markets is, in the FOMC, their sort of forward view of inflation was quite high. I think it was 3.6% on PCE for this year. And, I think that 9 of the 18 votes basically came out and saw a rate hike this year, and 6 of those saw 2. And the market was like really unprepared for that. And what someone told me who's a bond trader, he was like, this seems like there's a war going on a bit in the Fed. They're very adamant. And, I think I was very pleased with Warsh. I think the markets initially expected him to come out very, very dovish, but, I think he's trying to display credibility that the Fed's going to look at things in a much more sort of scientific way and revisit a lot of old policies. And he's created like all these task force to look at, various things. Warsh said a few things that I thought were really good. I think he left some breadcrumbs. One, he made this obvious statement. I've always been, a believer that Warsh is, unlike Powell, very pro-growth and thinks that growth is a good thing. And Warsh made a comment that you don't have to make a hard decision and sacrifice employment over inflation. Those things are not necessarily at odds with one another. And that's, in my opinion, that's a very pro-growth thing. He also said that he thought that there were certain areas of the economy that were under restricted policy right now. And he named like the housing market, which we all know. And I think that's definitely something that they're gonna try to work toward. I think they want to get bond yields down for obvious reasons. And I don't think the Fed under Powell ever really said anything about it, or ever, thought about it. So, but the long end did pretty well out of this. People could argue that it's because they think that inflation is going to be contained because he came across more hawkish. But I think, I personally think it's cheap. It's very cheap. And I think, bonds will continue to do well, over time. There's going to be, I think, he's going to try to encourage a lot less sort of independent voices going around and contradicting one another. And this guy thinks this way and this guy's a dove and blah, blah, blah. I think he's going to try and create more of a Fed like we saw under Greenspan, which was sort of let markets sort of interpret the data and not look at the Fed for every single piece of data and what they say about it. So I think it's a net positive. And my personal opinion is, with oil coming down here, it makes him have an easier job. I think we will, I'm completely contrarian to the market on this, but I think that the path of least resistance is definitely a cut, in my own opinion. And I just think that we're going to see a ton of productivity from AI. And I think it's already hitting, we had I think a 22% profit growth in earnings this year in the S&P. So some of that efficiency from AI is probably already working its way through. So I'm hopeful.
For people who are not bond traders like us, the long end means the long end of the yield curve, around the 30-year bond.
Means bonds like 10 to 30 years. Yeah.
Which means financing long-term debt is much.
That's where mortgages are kind of, stuck at. So, and under Powell, I think one of the great disasters of the Powell Fed chairmanship was he allowed the bond market to pretty much collapse and underperformed equities that year. And I think that, I think they did very little to try and mitigate that. I've said this before on the show, but Bessent's been, as a Treasury Secretary, buying bonds back in the market that were trading at some of them were trading at 50 cents on the dollar. So when you buy back bonds back at 50 cents on the dollar, you don't have to pay $100 back, right? You pay 50, right? And then you roll it into the front end, you pay a higher interest, but own less notional. So
and that's why it's so important to get the long end down.
Correct. It's important. Well, it's important to get the long end because everyone's mortgage is tied to that. And we want to get the housing market going again at 16% of our economy. So I think, I was always baffled by why Powell's Fed didn't comment more or, have itself more concerned with where bond yields were.
Yeah.
But, I think, I don't necessarily think it's going to be vocalized a lot, but I think this is something that the Fed and the Treasury are going to try to work on, is to get yields in to help the housing market.
Yeah. Really, really important. What about Lisa Cook? You heard anything on that?
The last I heard was, I think we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to issue a decision on this. I'm hoping, the way things have been going recently, I'm hoping that, I think for someone who is appointed by the executive, and someone who has done something that is basically illegal, I think Trump should have the right to dismiss that person. But that's where the fight is, right? Because the FOMC right now, it's 3 of Trump's guys basically versus 4 of the, guys that were appointed either by Obama or by Biden. So it's a very different outlook on how the Fed's being run.
It's a big deal because it's essentially the ability to control the election, right? Because if you control the economy, you control the elections,
correct.
right?
And I you know, and I think everything in this country is so politicized. I do think that it's much more convenient for us to have, you know, rates go up, slow the economy down, you know, in under the guise of we got to fix inflation. And then they, you know, Trump will lose the midterms if the economy's starting to go down the, you know, the toilet.
And people need to keep the big picture intact because that's exactly why this peace deal needs to go through, because you see the rates coming down, you see the pressure off the energy markets. If that doesn't get done, then there's real trouble in midterms. If it does get done, which it is getting done, then we're going to have because the alternative of having Trump in power is very dark. So again, this is what makes me very concerned about the underlying agenda of those going after this peace deal.
Well, I think you're 100% correct. I mean, I think there's people who are much more neoconish and hardliners who want, you know, quote unquote, us to finish the job. And I think when you have to weigh everything, you weigh the economy, you know, you weigh the U.S., what the U.S. voters feeling in his personal life, you know, you weigh where interest rates are, and then you look at, here's a deal I can do to stop this conflict, accomplish what we want, no nukes, whatever. I think that's a pretty good compromise. That's the way life is. You know, Trump's a businessman, and he's going to make a decision based on pragmatism as opposed to, you know, silly ideological bends.
Well, somebody wants us in a perpetual chaos here in the U.S. too.
100%. 100%. I mean, you know, we've done enough damage to our national debt through all these endless wars that we've had in the Middle East, accomplished nothing, destroyed civilizations, you know, millions of dead. And we have, you know, $8 trillion of debt to thank ourselves for it. And we got nothing. Right. So like, I think Americans are very tired of, even on both sides, are very tired of endless wars. Right.
Last question. You mentioned the strategy, I guess, or tactic that Besson is using to reduce the debt by buying discounted bonds back and then refinancing, you know, paying 50 cents on the dollar for debt that we issued, which essentially reduces our debt. Do you know how much he's done of that? Is it material? Do you know?
It's not material. I mean, you know, it's billions, but it's certainly, I don't think trillions. And, you know, and I think, you know, one thing people need to remember, a lot of people don't really understand it, but as I explained before, when you issue debt, you know, at a small coupon, which we did during COVID, 30-year debt, you know, 20-year debt, the price move on the longer dated bonds is a bigger price move for yield than it is on the shorter dated. That's called duration, right? Sure. So when we have like rates increase like they did under Powell, and the bond market sells off, these bonds go to a huge discount. And so it kind of is a way for us to retire that debt with less outstanding. So we end up making a profit. We sold it to $100 and then we're paying $50 for it. Now there's a trade-off with the interest rate that you pay, because we issued those. They were like, you know, 1-2% coupons. But with the outlook that rates going down, that's a good thing.
It's 5% on half of what you were paying. So if you borrowed 100, it's 5% on 50 versus 1% on 100.
Right. The interest is roughly the same. Yes.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I wonder why he doesn't do more of that, because.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's got target levels, and I think, you know, and I think that's one thing that would stop, you know, that would sort of backstop bonds, because if yields got too wacky, then he's going to buy and hoover up a ton of this stuff, you know. I mean, the markets, you know, the five-year forward on inflation is like 2%. So the markets aren't like, you know, thinking that inflation is going to be some like, you know, Paul Volcker, you know, Iranian Revolution type level because of oil. And I think, you know, I think Trump's got a lot of smart guys working for him in the Treasury and now Warsh. And I think, you know, all these guys, they kind of see it the right way. It's like, you know, it's very important for us to get oil prices down so that we can run our country properly. And so, you know, like I said, like you said, there's a lot of touch points to what's going on in the Middle East. And it's not that Trump's like tacoing or any of that. It's like, this is a very good deal. It accomplishes at least what he thinks he wants. and which is what his goal was in the beginning, like to make sure that they don't have nukes. And he says stuff all the time, and you know, we've still got some time before this thing's finalized, but I think it's a good deal for the country in terms of the economy and keeping all that stuff in mind.
Well, all you got to do is look at who's really pissed off about it to think whether it's good or not for us.
Right. Well, the neocons that love war are pissed off about it, right?
Yeah.
We want us in a constant battle in the Middle East. They're pissed off about it. It's not what they wanted. They wanted regime change, right? Well, if you do that, you're going to lose American lives, and it's going to cost you billions of dollars, and it's going to cost you the midterms, and interest rates are going to be sky high, and oil's going to be sky high. And then what do you got? Right?
You got a loss of the midterms, and you got a loss of MAGA and America First.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's going on. I mean, what is the freaking alternative? You put the 82nd Airborne in on Karg Island, and then you get, 2,000 guys killed by drones.
Yeah, it's very clear to me, and you and I have spoken about this, that that's what Iran wanted us to do.
Yes.
Right? They wanted to lure us in. That country geographically is like a fortress. It is surrounded by mountains with valley inside, and it is like a trap. I mean, they're certainly the most formidable military in the Middle East. They have been. They're a huge country. So it would have been, and you never know with Trump, maybe if he doesn't get what he wants now, we stew on it for a while, and then he comes in and finishes the job, after midterms, right? And he's got, possibly more congressional support, more Senate, more senators on his side. Let's try something that's going to let the pressure valves kind of release right now and see how that works. And then, with Trump, it's not like it's over. He surprised everybody by going in there in the first place. Same thing.
He surprised everybody by going after, Israel, I should say Netanyahu. And then Mary Madelson's paper in Jerusalem this morning came out and said,
I saw that.
You could have been a good president, Mr. Trump.
Betraying Israelis. I don't think so. I think
I've thought about whether I want to say this or not, but that is very like Charlie Kirkish to me. I mean, it is very weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, I you and I have spoken about this. I mean, I certainly think that Israel is a good ally. I think they have been a good ally, but it is a different country, and they do have different national interests than we do.
Yeah.
And I think we need to keep that in perspective.
Totally agree. Thank you, Tom, so much for everything. We'll have you back. Maybe we'll do a show in the cabin there sometime, you and me together.
Yeah, cool. I look forward to it.
All right. Take care.
Ciao. All right, buddy. Take care.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. Want to give a shout out to Avello Airlines. We're very proud of our relationship with Avello. They're going to be announcing some new routes soon and new destinations, and we're going to have these several of their staff on to discuss very soon. So stand by for that. Also, the wellness company, twc.health/CDM, promo code CDM, you get 10% off. You saw the Fauci stuff from ODNI, Tulsi Gabbard, on their last day. She released essentially that Fauci lied to Congress, that he developed this bioweapon. He was working with the intelligence services, and she laid out all the facts, emails, and evidence. It's not over, folks. They're going to come back with something. Make sure your family's protected. Go to twc.health/CDM. This is the contagion kit. If you have, respiratory issues, you can get the nebulizer and the steroids in here and other stuff as far as any kind of contagion, respiratory contagion. You've got the travel emergency kits, the medical emergency kits, the insurance, the subscriptions where you get doctor's visits, free medications, free nutraceuticals, weight loss, testosterone help, just all kind of stuff, parasite cleanse, ivermectin and mebendazole for cancer treatments, all kind of great stuff at the wellness company. So go to twc.health/CDM, play around with the site, and use promo code CDM for the best discounts. All right, I'm going to bring in Mr. Laurent. Thierry, thank you for coming on this morning, Thierry. What is going on in France and Europe, my friend? It's crazy. I'm watching from far away, but I don't like what I'm seeing. What's happening?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you to invite me again on your show. It's always a great pleasure, in fact, to discuss with you. Mm-hmm. So what is happening in France? It's a big deal, So lately, we have been discovering that our system of justice was just backing up loads of sexual aggressors of kids, pedophilia. We have been discovering through the speech of Mr. Darmanin, the Minister of Justice, that there was about 70,000 cases that were not treated for the last, I would say, 8 years. And he dared to tell us on TV that he wanted the 70,000 cases to be solved in the next month. So basically, the first question that the population is asking in a level of anger that never been reached before. Mm-hmm. What have you been doing during 9 years? how come we have something like 70,000 predators of our kids that are running in the street? So now this entire story is spreading on the presidency of Macron that has a very, very small credibility until now. But if we are looking at the story, this is finished. Whatsoever he will say, he's gone. On top of it, he is putting together an event for the 14th of July to introduce the concept of a European army, and he wants the Ukrainians to participate to this parade. And for us, this is a red line. And I'm going to explain you why. In Normandy, on top of the cliffs, that was the Das Reich division, constituted essentially of Ukrainians who has been shooting at the GIs. Those people, when they were not containing, in fact, the debarkments, they have been running away and they were going through villages. And one of them was Oradour-sur-Glane. And this Das Reich division has been perpetrated the worst crime, war crime of the Second World War. They have been decimating an entire village. And so basically now we have these Nazi representations of the Ukrainian army that want to be represented during, in fact, the 14th of July, which is a big symbol for us. This is a symbol of our army, of our honor, of our resistance, and of the people that has been destroyed during the Shoah. So basically, 2 weeks ago, I was in Paris, and I had the opportunity, in fact, to discuss with Mr. Charles Millon, the former Minister of Army under Jacques Chirac, okay? The guy is just outraged by whatsoever is happening right now in our country. He's a very angry man. I have been having a discussion also with Bertrand Panchard, who used to be a representative of one of our chamber. And he wants me, in fact, to go through a hearing within, in fact, the Commission of Foreign Affairs, in the way that I will be explaining exactly what is happening in Ukraine that is completely hidden by all the services that are supposed, in fact, to give the right information to Macron. But we do believe that he knows exactly what is going on and he does not care about it. The only thing in terms of political outcome that is important for him is to make sure there will be a conflict between Russia and European Union to justify the federalization of Europe. And this federalization, for all the talks that I have with several politicians in Europe, and especially on the patriot side, nobody wants it. Absolutely nobody. So basically, I have been writing, in fact, to most of our Army Corps, and I have been asking them, in fact, to act upon whatsoever is necessary to represent the population and its will, and not the will of one individual because he has some political means in terms of career. We will see what is going to happen. We have a lot of patriotic movements that are going to demonstrate during the 14th of July with Florian Philippot, with Asselineau, with a bunch of other politicians. And we are going to express to this guy within the Élysée that we do not want to comply to whatsoever he wants for himself. You see?
Yeah.
So basically, 2 days ago, I was interviewed by a Pan-African channel, TV, and they were asking me what I was thinking about regarding what has been happening within the G7, which I have been answering that it was not the G7 anymore, but the G6 against one.
Yeah.
And you see the rhetoric that I try, in fact, to put together. Because Trump arrived within the room and there to say, I am the boss. This is not the kind of things that you're claiming. And our perception right now is that if NATO and the G6 against him did not participate to the operations against Iran, this is because it was going against our own economic interest. And actually, I'm still wondering what was, in fact, the goal that Trump wanted to achieve within Iran. Because if we are looking at the outcome, this is a disaster of a magnitude we cannot even imagine. It's unbelievable. If you look at the strategic level of oil in the world right now, it is at the lowest level. We have been pumping into the strategic reserve at the level of 400 million barrels. And now the strategic reserve of the United States have been going down to the lowest level until since 1982, if I remember. So basically, Trump is in the corner. He don't have the choice. He need to accept whatsoever the Iranian has been deciding. But the worst of this story is that he's saying, oh, we're going to get the uraniums that they have been enriching. Are you sure about that? Do you think that the Ayatollah is going to accept after his entire family has been decimated, that he will be releasing, in fact, whatsoever he has been enriched? I don't think a second this is going to happen. That is the first point. The second point...
Let me just interject there. We were talking earlier that I agree with you, all of that, but what is the alternative? To put troops in Iran and have a massive war and close the strait, and energy collapses and famine and fertilizer, and I don't think there's I think you're right. He's in a corner. He doesn't have an alternative. So that's my thought.
Well, you know, as much as I can understand that he don't have the choice, because we need, in fact, to release the economy. Is it going to happen? I have been hearing most of the ship owner, from MSA to CMA to Hapag-Lloyd and so on, those big guys, they have been saying, until we don't see a real agreement signed, we are not going to take the risk to evacuate our assets through the Hormuz Strait. Because if during the negotiation something is getting wrong and our ship are getting bombed, we are going to lose an amount of money that is absolutely outrageous. Oil carrier costs something like $400 million. If you integrate, in fact, the oil that is on board, that is an asset of around $600 million that can go under the water. So now let's look.
I think that the Iranians need the strait open just as bad, because they need the money, and China needs the money and the oil. So,
well, don't forget one thing, is that for the Russian, for the Chinese, there was absolutely no fees applied to the boat, and on top of it, they were just sailing along the coast, and they were passing through without any problem. So basically, I do believe that those guys, they have absolutely no problem of fulfillment in terms of oil and energy and so on. But there is another part of the equation, is all the materials that need to go through the Strait of Hormuz, in fact, to run the economy. Example, the helium for the processors in Taiwan.
Yes. Yeah.
This is tragic. This is tragic. Look at the memory output in terms of production right now. It has been going down at a level. This is unbelievable. Most of the companies that are making memories have their stock that are just plunging because the output is not on the table. So the only problem that I see here is that as much as Trump is in the corner and he wants to solve this as soon as possible because he wants to save it's the next election during the midterm. Does Netanyahu is going to comply to whatever Trump want to do? That's another story, because Netanyahu is confusing its own judicial situation with the state of Israel. And he knows pertinently, because Bennett is doing whatsoever, the former prime minister, is doing whatsoever necessary, in fact, to do so. He knows pertinently that if the conflict is stopping, he will end up in jail.
That's where we are, my friend. That's where we are. I mean, and Lebanon is a mess. I mean, Lebanon is just a mess.
And on top of it, if you look at the internal support that Donald Trump is supposed, in fact, to get through the GOP, it's not on the table, because those guys, they are financed by the AIPAC. So basically, this is like a political quagmire inside and outside because of the economy. So Trump is between the hammer and the anvil. How is he going to exit the situation? I have absolutely no idea. This is like a headache. But us in Europe, we have another problem. We saw what was the intention of Macron and Stammer, and backed up by Merz, that has been shifting its economy into an economy of war. He's reindustrializing. In fact, its military at a pace that is kind of surprising. So their intention is about, in fact, to go through 2030 to make sure they will be able, in fact, to conduct a major attack on Russia. If Trump is losing the midterm, what is going to happen? You have the Dems that are going to take over. And what they are going to do, they are going to reinitialize the rearming of Ukraine.
Yes.
And they will push most of those politicians in the course of a major conflict. If you listen to the declaration that Lavrov has been putting together yesterday, it's explicit. He's saying that the Europeans are on the course in the sleeping mode, working sleeping mode, in fact, straightforward to a conflict with Russia that can turn into nuke. I was in the office of one of the ministers of Vladimir Putin last year in May and in June. He was explicit. He said, we do not trust the Europeans anymore. It's finished. So basically, if they do not understand we are going to play our security card, they are making a great mistake.
Well, that also, there was news out this week that Ukraine wants to build a mercenary army, 50% of the troops from other nations, which means Africa, which means, they're going to bring in a lot of migrants and Europeans that, intelligence services, Brits, and, but that is just complete war against Russia. This is the Fourth Reich, in my opinion. They want a massive army. They're going to use Ukraine as a training ground and to attack Russia. This is Hitler, Napoleon, all over again, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
Well, I have heard that there is a plan, in fact, to constitute it out of 70,000 people. But they forget one thing. It's not because you bring a maximum of resources of people that are motivated by the money they're going to make that you're going to get a motivated army. I've been discussing with some mercenaries that were in Ukraine, and they were participating to the combat on the side of Carpathian Sich, which is like a unit managed by private sector, the neo-Nazi of private sector. And most of them, they have been running away because they are extremely scared of whatsoever was happening. They were thinking it was a sort of combat like we have been seeing in Syria, where the people, they were like facing RPG or Kalashnikov or whatsoever, small weaponry. But here, it's a real war. When you are facing like the results of the Fab 3000, it's another story. And those guys witnessing what was happening were telling me it was just terrible. From the morning to the evening, we were getting shelled, and it was like hell on earth.
Yeah.
So basically, it's not because you are going to constitute an army of 70,000 people that you're going to make it, one, efficient, two, trained, three, able, in fact, to use a very specific material that is kind of sophisticated, and you are not going, in fact, to be able to face like the major weaponry that is in front of you. So what is the point to do that? Yes. We are dealing with some politicians right now that are just living their own fantasy. You know, they are not living in the real world. They don't understand what is this kind of conflict about. And if you are putting them on the front line, they would really realize at which point this is not a joke anymore. And on top of it, Macron was saying, oh, after the conflict, when the ceasefire is signed up, we are going to put on the ground the NATO troop in the way that we are going to guarantee the security of Ukraine. This is the problem since the beginning.
Well, you know, maybe it's they don't know, or maybe it's a you know, gay, pedophile, satanic worshiping group that wants to destroy the world and to take power. You know, maybe that's it. But anyway,
you know, at this point, it is so transgressive. It is so. It is so in the way to reject the reality of the combat that I do believe that this is something that they want since the beginning.
Yes.
And you know, I was saying to some colleagues and former generals, I was telling them, you know, it is about to neutralize 50 guys to save 450 million. What do you think? I'm just leaving them, in fact, thinking about this kind of statement. Because at a point in time, us, as the population of Europe, we need to make sure that we are going to make those people understanding it's a red line and they cannot cross it. Another story.
Yeah.
Now, the problem that we are encountering is that due to the fact that the population in Europe are suffering hell on an economical point of view, because the story of Iran, you know, it has been a disaster. You know how much we are paying the gallon in France?
It's like
$11.5. How do you want to live with this? You know, I was asking for an electrician, in fact, to come in my place, and some guys to do some construction, because, you know, my shoulder with the injuries I had in December, I still wait for the surgery, and I don't have the mobility I used to, you know. The guys, they are telling me on the phone, no, sir, you live too far. We are not going to come because we are going to lose so much money in transportation that doesn't make sense to come to your place and to do the job.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
We have the nurses that are putting, in fact, their activity on hold because as they need, in fact, to visit a lot of senior people, they need, in fact, to use the car, and they decide to stop because they are spending more money than they are making.
Yeah, yeah.
The economy in France is just like on the ground. During the weekend, if you take your car and you go to a grocery store in a city like 30 kilometers away from my place, there is nobody on the road.
Yeah.
The consumptions of gasoline in France has been dropping by 30%. What does it mean? It means that during the weekend, people, they stay at home because they cannot afford, in fact, to go somewhere else, to go to the sea or to go walking in a forest.
Yeah.
But when you are just locking up intrinsically a population and you forbid them, in fact, to live, the feeling that they have is that they cannot support somebody that has been triggering this big mess. You know, and Trump is responsible for that, unfortunately.
Well, it's just like the UK. At some point, either France has the will to survive or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we're at. Thierry, I've got 1 more minute left. What's your last words here?
Well, I have been hearing, in fact, the declaration of Thierry Laurent lately regarding, in fact, the bioweapons. I'm kind of surprised because 3 years ago, you know who has been discovering all this story? That was Dilyana Gaitanjeva, Vasily Prozorov, people that I am working with, and myself. We have been discovering, for example, that the DoD has been testing the COVID in Ukraine much before pandemic. And actually, this is in my book. And people can discover all the things that we have been discovering regarding the bioweapons. And I'm surprised that during the 18 months she was in charge, she hasn't been releasing the information necessary in the way that she would be influencing people that are responsible for this. And I'm thinking about the CEO of the company Labyrinth Global Earth. Her name was Karen Saylor, who has been participating heavily in the research of COVID in Ukraine. She must be heard by the Senate in the way that we understand how this virus has been migrating from the labs in Wuhan to Ukraine in the Meshnikov Institute.
Well, they were testing it. They were testing it on Ukrainian and Georgian soldiers as well. We reported that 5 years ago. So I've got to go to 30 last words. Anything else?
Well, let's see how the situation is going to unfold in regard of the resolution of the conflict in Iran. But, you know, I am kind of desperated, and I feel like the world is going on a course of violence that we've never been experiencing since the World War II. And this is very, very scary. At a point in time, I do believe that population needs to take their responsibility and to make sure that they will put, in fact, all those politicians in the corner in the way that they stop, in fact, to mess around the countryside regarding, in fact, our security.
I agree. Thierry, thank you very much. We'll have you back soon. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. Bye, Todd.
Nuclear wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, you know, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does nuclear do? Nuclear itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Pete Blaber is coming, but we're having a little bit of a connection problem, so we're just going to roll here. I want you to take a look, if you're looking for that beach read this summer, my first novel, Currency. It is a financial thriller. It's got romance, pirates, global travel, and people tell me they feel like they got a degree in finance by reading it. But they also say, I stayed up all night to read it, and it should be a movie. And we've had people work on that side of things, the movie thing. I've actually been contacted by people in London with the British Film Academy to look at doing that, because it's a weird story. I'll tell you the story. I was down in Nevis. I was writing this book while I was on Wall Street, and I was down in Nevis, which is down the chain in the Caribbean. And there was an old sugar plantation up on the side of the volcano, beautiful old colonial home. And they turned it into a hotel, because it was kind of an estate, and it had a beautiful main house with a library. And so I did a book signing for Currency in that library, and I left a copy there. And literally a year later, I get a call from this British producer, director, saying, I read your book, and I want the rights. So check out Currency. It's the first in the Connor Murray series. The second one is called Sugar, and the third one is called Motherland, which all of these are extremely, extremely prescient books. So Pete, I see you, but I can't see you. Anyway, check out Currency. It's anywhere books are sold. There's over 500 reviews, 4 something on the review list, and check it out. Let me try to deal with Pete. You know what? I'm going to take another break, and I'm going to give him a call, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't miss Ukraine SitRep. It's coming right back. Hold on.
Excited to announce that we're having our biggest Made in America sale ever. We just put huge discounts on products made right here in the USA. MyPillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, bolster pillows, all made with my patented adjustable fill. Mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more. All made right here in the USA. And now we're expanding our USA products beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now available in both men's and women's. We even have USA-made socks. And are you tired of being tired? Try our new health beverage, Rev 7. Or how about my coffee, the greatest coffee ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get deep discounts on all these products. Plus, for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embra team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, And our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret, silver wings.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. We're waiting on Mr. Blaber to reboot his computer and try again. So we're going to walk through some stories. This one on cdm.press is on Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine gets unanimous thumbs up despite risks and low efficiency. The FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee today voted 9-0 to recommend approval of Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine for the 50 to 64 and 65 plus age groups. The unanimous vote guarantees a lot of really good questions of harm will have to be answered in the post-marketing period when that harm manifests in the population, according to Children's Health Defense. So you can find this on cdm.press. The vaccine story is not over, folks. They're still pushing the jabs. It's really quite remarkable. All right, another one I want to discuss is what's going on in the Middle East. Briefly, Israel and Hezbollah trade fire in southern Lebanon, deaths on both sides. Israel is occupying all of southern Lebanon below the Litani River, destroying homes there. And you've heard the Israelis in the cold open, the defense minister Katz talk about that. The finance minister Smotrich, Ben Gvir, also the national security minister, all of them talking about we're going to continue, we're going to take land, and we're going to destroy all the homes. And Trump can't do anything about it. So Israeli media also went after Trump. President Trump, you could have been the greatest president of all, but you failed. This was from Israel Hayom, which is owned by the Adelsons in Jerusalem. So really interesting split with Israel and President Trump. We'll continue to report on it. We're just reporting the facts. JD Vance, Vice President Vance, canceled a Swiss-Iranian negotiation trip as the violence raged, and Iran said the deal is in jeopardy. But right before the show, we had another ceasefire come out. Let me just check and see if Pete is back. I don't see him in yet. All right, we're going to keep going. We may have to shift Ukraine SitRep to another day. This one we're going to talk about with Pete, but OD and I Gabbard on our last day in office drops Fauci declassification on COVID lies. Just really amazing, amazing disclosure. We'll play that in a second if we don't do it with Pete, but I know he wanted to talk about it, so let's move on. Wake up. Vance bluntly warns Israel it has no more powerful ally besides Trump or any other powerful ally besides Trump. So again, the split is highlighted in the media and what's going on. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the White House, by the way, and figure out what actually is happening. And another one on this vein, on our Balkan paper, the Balkan.press, Kushner's Albanian dream ignites a national firestorm. Is it paradise or is it plunder, according to our author in the Balkans? So we're waiting on Mr. Blaber to come back. Let's see what else we need to discuss here. I was going to do this with him. Let me hold on one second. Let me just check him and see what he's saying. Okay. It looks like he's blocked. He is overseas in an undisclosed location, and it looks like they're blocking him. So we're going to belay all of this with Ukraine SitRep, and we're going to have to do it another time when he's back in the good old US of A. So, okay, so that's it for the show today, unfortunately, but we'll be back with Ukraine SitRep, I promise you, very soon. So thanks for being with us today. We'll be back Monday. We'll be back Sunday at 2 with Bill Quinn. He's going to have a lot of information from the fraud conference that just went on out in Las Vegas. So 2 o'clock Sunday Eastern here live on CDM and on the Georgia Record, Georgia show. And I'll be back Monday, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF. So thank you for joining us today. We'll be back. Take care.